Please welcome back John Turturro and Aida Turturro. Now keep it coming. Come on. 20 years.
That's the long version of the film because I did when the film came out. I think I took about 7 minutes out of it, so I was surprised to see certain things, especially in the last part of the film. It's a little bit longer, but I was happy to see it. But I didn't know that was yeah.
And it was sitting in your house that whole time.
Yeah, no, yeah, because we trimmed a few things, which you always do anyway. But it was actually nice to see the longer version too.
Sit down, get comfortable.
Very hard to watch that film because I was just thinking that so much of this stuff was inspired by my dad passed away a long time ago. It was about my mom and my dad, but then and now seeing the movie, one thing was about my dad, and then seeing the movie now, that Jimmy's not here, so it's like a double. It's like a double thing for me to see it, and he's so beautiful in the movie. I mean, what a beautiful performance!
Really incredible.
Beautiful, just beautiful. So delicate, right? I mean, and the whole cast is just such a great cast.
Yeah, what was it like for you to revisit that whole experience?
Wow. Is this on? Yeah. Well, a lot of things for sure. Being away from it for a really long time, I just thought it was so beautiful on so many levels, and I am so proud of my cousin because it is so special in so many ways. It touched me, it makes me laugh. It's so many things. And, seeing people, too, that aren't there, my aunt. And, I don't know, Jimmy was so beautiful there. And I felt like he was with us at that point, And I don't know, I just was so in the film, I was living it. And I was really crazy impressed. And it's not because John is my cousin, but I just wish more people would get to see this and see the dynamic of it and all the levels of it. Because there's so much love and originality and just so many levels of beauty in this film. And he deserves his acclaim. I'm sorry, but he does.
Agreed.
A lot of people contributed to the film, but I thank Aida for saying that. But I mean, really, there's a lot of my mom in the film, and she helped me on the script. A lot of the best lines are from my mother, and she had that, kind of irreverent spirit, and that pervades through the entire film. And it's just that I got to do it, and it's not diluted by anybody. I have to thank Bingham Ray, and the Coen brothers, for that. But it's funny, people make all these like dark movies and they say it's so personal. There's almost nothing in this film that's not personal to me. Almost nothing. But of course I heightened it, and that was the way to express it in a much more sort of creative way
and sexual.
And a way that you could be, you could elevate it, because I do think a lot of people live in these little houses and they have these titanic lives, these gigantic lives, and they have gigantic imaginations and feelings, and I felt like that I was doing something, for those people. I was like communicating with those people,
and they see themselves through the world around them, including the music, which is it seems like it's such a key layer. So can you talk a bit about that? I mean, it's great to watch the credits and see that you got the rights.
I mean, it took me 2 years to get all the rights to the music. I mean, it took me a long time, And originally, when MGM said, it was going to cost so much money, I brought it in for way less than that. And because I begged and I talked to them personally, Springsteen, James Brown, and once a few people came along, and we had more music originally than this too, and then I cut it down. But music is a form of emotional transportation, and it's a form of prayer, it's a form of articulation, it's a form of fantasy, it's a form of dreaming what you would like to do, what you can't do. And I think that's the potency of popular music. We all have this encyclopedia in the back of our head. We have our private soundtracks, which means it may not even be the best song, but it means something to you because it happened at a certain time. And so, to me, I grew up in a house that was just, propulsive. It was all kinds of music. And everyone had their own kind of music in that tiny house. So it's weird for me to see the film because that's like the kind of house that I grew up in.
Did you relate to that as well, Aida? I mean, you have some really amazing scenes where you're belting it out.
Well, I used to sing more. I've lost my voice these days, but John, he inspired me to, I was so excited about singing that song that I got to belt out. It Must Be Him, and then they had to cut it down. But I was so happy to sing that as her. You know what I mean? I love that part. And it was then at the end of the movie, he let me sing that last song, in the end. So that was fun. I love music, but I'm not so great at it, but I love it. And John just always supports that. But watching it as I say outsider today, the way the music was used and everyone was used in expressing it between the people dancing to the music and anybody dancing to the music and dancing ballet or just moving or offbeat or whatever it was like you were in this film, part of the music, part of the dancing. I don't know, I was just blown away. I'm sorry, I'm being a little whatever, but
it's an extension of the movie. I mean, we have to talk about Kate Winslet for a second.
Oh my God, I'm attracted to her. What the heck? I mean,
she goes to an extreme she hasn't before or since.
Well, I think amazing? I basically, got her. I mean that's a part of her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I met her family, they're kind of rustic. You know what I mean? So that's not it's not out of her wheelhouse. And you have to have that. Some people have violence in them. Some people have a raunchy side to them, and she's just. I showed her Tommy, with Anne Margaret, and I said, I said, you see that? I said, let's try to get to that point where you can be that uninhibited.
She was
and
great.
She just was, she made the character heartbreaking too, and she also is a very good singer, and I didn't know that going in, but she really intimidated James. He was intimidated by her. And that's exactly what I wanted. You know what I mean? I wanted these Herculean couple.
But did you see him? I love when he's dancing in the fireman scene.
Yeah.
He loves it, and he's doing his moves, and it's just so adorable and so real.
Yeah. We didn't want it to be perfect choreography. We, when the choreography was too good, I was like, no, that's not good, because I wanted it to be a bedroom musical. What you do in your basement, what you do in your underwear, all this unconscious movement, because that brings a lot of happiness when people see that. It does.
Yeah, we also have to touch on the fact that you have this incredible ongoing relationship with Christopher Walken. Of course, you are nominated for an Emmy right now for acting alongside him in Severance, which we have to acknowledge. But you got something else out of him in this movie that's incredible. What an amazing dancer.
Chris is a dancer, and he didn't want any choreography for Delilah. So I said, Chris, we're in the studio here with all these dancers, and we had real dancers and real firemen and real cops. We had a combination. And Chris was like, well, I don't like choreographers. He's like, They're like hairdressers. He told me. I said, so what do you want me to do? He said, well, you do the dancing, and I'll watch you, and then I'll steal what I want, And that's what I did. So I danced for Chris, and then he took whatever he wanted, and we just, we had we had a ball, doing it, and then Katie Huffman did all those calisthenics and pyrotechnics in the window. She was so it was such a talented group of people, and they all understood that it was based in in reality. I've shown this like in Queens, like they have this film festival. Film Forum has in the summer like 1,000 people. And a lot of people come up to me. They say, "This is a very realistic movie," and it actually is. It's actually very realistic, because that's how we get through lives, especially if you don't have a lot of resources. Music is essential in a lot of cultures, in a lot of communities, and I just wanted to tap into that.
Yeah, and to bring it back to Gandolfini for a second. Aida, you worked obviously closely with him in a very different capacity, and Sopranos was so ubiquitous even at the time this movie was made. What did you see being unlocked about this performance that he wasn't necessarily able to do there?
I never looked, like I had told you earlier. I mean, I never looked at Jimmy like, oh, he's Tony. I knew him for years before. We had done Broadway together. He had been in other films, and see James. Like, knowing him, it's like he could be anybody. He could play anybody. He can be anything, because that's who he was. He was creative. He didn't play, just, Tony or just James. He could create anybody. And the thing about Jimmy, it was like if you look at Sopranos, or you look at this film or any other film, it's honest, and you see his heart. His heart is right there. Everything is true with him. Everything comes off of his face. It's so real. And it was great. I mean, anytime I worked with him, it was just working with Jimmy, I mean, it's
great
easy.
Listener too.
Yeah, he listens, and he's honest, and working with him it's easy. It's just like, working with yourself. You're like, and watching it here. Like, after all this time, it's hard when you're close to something, but watching this film, it was like, wow. And how about all the people in it? Come on, like the cast of everybody, right? Is this amazing? And everybody, I mean,
powerful women in that movie.
A lot, right? And John's not afraid to cast women. That's what I love about him.
Wow, they're the best. I mean, I thought that James had that too. He has that femininity in him, that delicacy, and that's really rare. When you see him listening to Aida when she's talking on the recorder, he's just like enamored of everything she's doing as the character, but also that also comes out of you, And so, there's to do something like this is there's a lot of work that goes into it.
And you put so much work into it, and then the work continued when it was done. So, what kept you fighting to get this movie out in the world 20 years ago?
I felt like I was going to like almost put me under, because I felt like I had this really good release. I had people, we had tested it. It was, and we probably could have released it earlier if they would have told us. It was really heartbreaking. It was really hard. And so many people had in this room, put so much effort, money, time. I wanted to, return that to them, at least them to get some of their money back and everything. And also, I knew what we had. And even, was this version or the shorter version. And so the Coen brothers and Jana, who's here, Edelbaum, and Bart Walker, and Christina Bezdikas, they all kind of, stuck with me. And I really wound up, like having to almost distribute it. I wound up getting it back. I had to negotiate. I was stuck in litigation, and I put my own money into it, and I got basically most of that back. I learned about distribution. I was like John Cassavetes. I did ads. I knew how big the ads were, how small they were, and I was like, fuck it. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. I at least want to get it out there. And it had, people really responded to it. And then we got these great reviews. And I was thinking, wow, imagine if we would have come out and gotten these, reviews. So that's what life is. There are many films, and I'm not saying anything, have won all these awards. No one remembers them. No one remembers them. And sometimes a film, finds its audience or whatever. And, I can tell you, this is the long version. I'm still really, I can't believe I made it. I mean, I feel like I'm just like, I was like, I couldn't do that now. I mean, I had balls. You know what I mean? I had fucking balls. I mean, I was like saying like, there's nothing's gonna. I was free and I wasn't afraid. And when you see it with a huge audience, it plays like a concert. And so I do know how to hold someone's attention. And this is a film that's about people, and it's about the complexities of being married and having a long relationship. And that's something that interests me. There's the miracle of birth, there's the miracle of death, but the biggest miracle in life is how actually people can care about each other. And I guess that's something that probably the country needs, right now, whatever. But to me, that really interests me, because without that, what do you have? What do you really have? You don't really have that much. And I think I learned that, by looking at my parents a lot and seeing their tumultuous relationship. And, that thing with the knife, I witnessed that. I witnessed it, and I was like, what's going on here, And when I saw this special language that they had between them, I was like, wow, that's something that's rare. And that's worth, exploring and worth sharing, because other people have that. We're all part, of something. And I think that that's important to me, that it's not just the individual. It's not. It's about how you connect with someone else and what you give, and to have a long relationship with someone, what that is later on, and, that's earned. It's not a given.
Yeah, what very well put. And as an extension of that, I think it's also a really remarkable snapshot of who you are as a filmmaker. You've made other films since then. This is your only musical. Have you ever thought about making more?
Well, I made Passione, which is like a documentary.
Sort of doc about that.
Yeah, I'd love to do, But I feel like, music, sex, love, anger, to me, this is like, I can get behind it. It's not a fantasy. You know what I mean? I go like, that's, I mean, if someone said, oh, John, would you want to play, at your funeral, what would you want? What do you want? I would say, well, you could play that scene with Elaine Stritch, you know what I mean? And you could play the underwater song. And I was like, that's me. That's me. I was like, and how I pulled that, I don't know how we pulled that off in a little bar, in a mermaid bar. But every obstacle I had, I figured out a way to get around it. And I truly loved, all the characters in the film. There's no one that I say, well, this is the villain of the film, because there is none. There is none. And when Kate says those things to him, it's funny, but it's heartbreaking too. So it's, she's a person also.
So just to bring this full circle, 20 years down the road, you just revisited this movie. How does it change your relationship to the journey that you were on to have this experience now, watching it with people and seeing how well it works?
It's a little. I had to put my head down. I was like embarrassed when I was watching. I was going, oh my God, That's what it's about. It's about expressing yourself and sharing. So this is something that really means a lot to me, and all the people in the film mean a lot to me, and it's a big part of my life in the film. But I wanted to share that because I thought I have something in common with other people. I'm sure they have had similar kinds of experiences, and that's just the kind of, you can't escape when you make a movie who you are, for better or worse. That's who you are, and if you know, otherwise, when I made my first movie, I got offers to direct all these movies, and I was like, I can't do that. That's not who I am, you know. And you know, you do things for the right reasons, and you know. So now when I see it, I'm the audacity of it. I'm impressed, you know. I'm like, you know. So, and
I think it's safe to say we are too. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
for
Thank
sticking
you.
around. Congrats.